Hi Dylan, look who I have here with me today. This is Lewis. Hopefully he will stay calm and okay while we get through this. I'm going to try to make it a little bit short because of that. But anyway, let's get into it. I wanted to start off by responding to your story. I really loved it. It came up just like in my mind a lot as I went throughout this last week. Yeah, very relevant, very good. I thought of a couple things though, just like a couple layers we could add to it. That sometimes the store is super hot or uncomfortable in some way, so that might be like more of a reason for that son to like give up on being patient and persistent, and just settling for something like, oh, I'm tired of this. So like the analogy would be like life is getting hard or something, and you just want to settle. I don't know. There's another. I feel another allegorical layer that you could add to there, and the other piece of that I was thinking about was how, like my last post on the Modern Quest was all about forgiveness, and then I kind of spoke about that at church that day. I was thinking about a similar thing, that sometimes like settling for the bouncy ball looks like settling for being unforgiving and like holding onto that spite that you want. Maybe there's like some pride there, like I'm not going to forgive. Who do they think they are? They can get away with it. Settling it for that, what feels good but is also very toxic and destructive. Settling for that rather than the bike of forgiveness and reconciliation. I think just making it a little more specific to forgiveness is a helpful way to think about it. Sometimes, maybe, perchance. So yeah, let's get into what I have. Oh, buddy. What I have ready for you today. I had a hard time finding a speech because it is my turn to do a speech. We're at that point in the cycle of speeches, stories, letters, and lyrics. Or lyrics and letters, I think. Now I'm messing it up. But I had a hard time. I was looking up all these like movie speeches, kind of like you did for Lord of the Rings, or like famous speeches, but like I don't want to do the Gettysburg Address because I don't know. It's been talked about. There's probably maybe we could still do that on this series, but I wasn't feeling it for this week at least. What I ended up was, well, before I get there, I just wanted to say that I enjoyed that process because it forced me to encounter a lot of new art, a lot of new media that maybe I wasn't familiar with, and that's fun. And I think that'll probably be true as someday I think I'll probably be looking for a poem to share on this series, and I just enjoy the opportunity to find new things. Anyway, this is a speech from William Faulkner when he accepted the Nobel Prize in 1950. He, of course, is a famous author, literary prowess like no other, but he never really was known for his speaking abilities. So people went to this speech and were like, let's see how he's gonna do. And the context around this was, at the time it was like the 50s, right? The Soviets' atomic bombs were being developed, and it was very, very tense. And that seemed to be what all the artists and authors and poets and everybody was dedicating their artistic efforts toward. But he was like, the point of this speech was just to be like, get in touch with the other sides of the human experience as well. It's not all just fear all the time. So yeah, that's kind of what this speech was about. I'm just going to take an excerpt from the end of it and read it to you now. He says, I decline to accept the end of man. It is easy enough to say that man is immortal because he will endure, that when the last ding-dong of doom has clanged and faded, Do you not like William Faulkner? What's going on? Let's try this again. I decline to accept the end of man. It is easy enough to say that man is mortal because he will endure. What are you doing, buddy? How about this? I'm gonna get him out of his chair. Let's see. Maybe you just want to be front and center. Maybe you just want to be right here. So, I decline to accept the end of man. It is easy enough to say that man is immortal because he will endure. That when the last ding-dong of doom has clanged and faded from this last worthless rock hanging tideless in the last red and dying evening, that even then there will still be one more sound, that of his puny, inexhaustible voice still... That was perfect timing. Thank you. Your puny, inexhaustible voice still talking. I refuse to accept this. I believe that man will not merely endure, he will prevail. He is immortal not because he is alone among creatures, or he alone among creatures has an inexhaustible voice, but because he has a soul, a spirit capable of compassion and sacrifice and endurance. The poet's, the writer's duty is to write about these things. It is his privilege to help man endure by lifting his heart, by reminding him of the courage and honor and hope and pride and compassion and pity and sacrifice which have been the glory of his past. The poet's voice need not merely be the record of man. It can be one of the props, the pillars to help him endure and prevail. Goodness, Lewis, that was hard to get through, huh? Anyway, I hope that speech came through, at least the heart and the really well done writing. It shows even in his speech prep that he just is a master of the craft. He's a master linguist and wordsmith, which I just really appreciated. It drew me to this speech. If we were to take some insights from the speech that we can try to apply, I think kind of goes, I have them typed up a little bit here. Endurance and immorality, or immortality. That is sort of where he starts off with the speech, reflecting on the endurance or immortality of just humankind, which prompts us to just think about our role here on Earth as our home planet and just in the universe, right? But it also prompts us to reflect on our ability to endure as a species. This human species has been around so freaking long. And we've seen so many other species go extinct, but we're still here. We're still kicking. We're doing great. And that's something I think we can learn from and be proud of, but also need to acknowledge and honor how much impact we have and take responsibility for that. Then he talks about the human spirit, and it makes humanity immortal. It's not just the ability to endure physically, but the possession of a soul capable of compassion, sacrifice, and endurance. So yeah, the spirit is kind of that reason behind why we are able to endure. Because of that compassion, sacrifice, we build each other up rather than just looking out for ourselves. Even though sometimes it can seem like most people are looking out for number one, right? Looking out for themselves. I think what's special about humanity is our ability to have culture and group identity and build each other up and sacrifice for our families, especially. That's really cool, and possibly because of our spirit. I think we can do that on a greater level and to a greater degree than just a herd of deer. Then he talks about the role of the writer. And now I've never really thought of myself as a writer, Even though now I find myself writing a lot for my daily Substack post and here on the Modern Quest writing my little column. But I do enjoy encountering the works of writers, and most of that is usually fantasy fiction, at least so far. In the last couple months, I feel like I've been getting more into nonfiction works and things like that. But for a while, it was always just like Lord of the Rings, Aragon, these things. So Faulkner sees the writer's duty and privilege as reminding humanity of its noble qualities: courage, honor, hope, pride, compassion, pity, and sacrifice, which have historically sustained and elevated human experience. And I think there's a way for nonfiction to promote those qualities, but I feel like the story and just like the narrative approach to communicating morals is so effective for me, at least. That's like maybe beginning with, I don't know, the tradition is so long. I'm thinking even just like Jesus's parables and Aesop's fables, things like that. But yeah, there's just the role of the writer and like the purpose of poetry in writing, according to Faulkner, is to build up these positive qualities and to cultivate just this beauty and art and compassion and things that are only available because of the fact that we have a spirit, which is the same thing that lets us endure so long as we have. Especially that was on the mind there, and while they were seemingly on the face of potential extinction due to nuclear winter, perchance. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with Faulkner. But yeah, you have the ability, even in your own life, to triumph over adversity, I would say, because of all these cool things Faulkner is talking about. That would be my last nugget I want to leave you and anybody else listening with. That you can do it. We've been able to do it for so long. We got through the Cold War. We can get through this fussy baby who's interrupting your video or whatever you might be facing today. All right. Thank you. I can't wait to see what you have for me next time. See ya.